can change the entire room. So anyways, this is really good stuff, I just want to say.
Sean, I'd just like to mention, I'm relating it to the Edmonton Oilers. Tom, what's the name of the forward that scored the shorthanded goals?
Connor Brown.
Connor Brown. Like, they interviewed him, and all I saw in that interview was leadership. Behind the scenes leadership that is now showing up on the ice. And I think in that organization, in that NHL culture, the most talented players are given the C in some cases, and this was the case. And this is my observation, is that Connor McDavid is a demonstrative leader by his play, and he's now leading by example. He's respecting different ice times, raised his level of performance, and everybody else is playing more, feeling valued. And when we talk about minor hockey, we're talking about the NHL. Everybody wants to play. And the same is true at the NHL. You don't win by overplaying the best players. You win by creating a culture, a team culture that transmits belief. Everybody earns a role and plays a role and feels valued. And I think both Florida and Edmonton are two teams, and most teams that get to the finals at this point, their minutes are much more balanced than teams that never made the playoffs. So for minor hockey coaches and parents out there who think shortening is the bench is the way to win, and parents to tell their children who they should be playing with and complain to coaches, it goes totally against the grain of creating a winning culture. I just wanted to throw that in there, and it just all connects. I just don't separate pro hockey from minor hockey.
Well, I think to your point, I think it's easy though too at the youth level. Again, if you're a coach and let's say you have some experience, but not the experience obviously of somebody like yourself, it's easy to just put the best player out there, right? That's a quick solution. Well, I want to win. I'll just put the best player out there and see if that works. And if it works, you probably keep doing that because it's easier than creating the culture that you are talking about, which you're 100% correct. If we're really trying to develop these boys and girls as athletes and as people. So I think that's part of the trap too for younger coaches is it's just easier to do.
Well, I think it's a trap door that people fall into thinking you just look at the final results of teams that are champions. And it's the culture that's created by that team to play and accept the roles they've been given. But everybody feels valued and will accept whatever role they have. And that's the art of coaching.
Yeah, so, I agree.
Well, I can think in five instances just off the top of my head where I've had third line players, score winning goals or critical goals in games that led us on to the next, whether it's a state championship or even in national tournaments. The player that, might not have played so much on other teams and ended up scoring, I think, in 3 games, critical goals, and he was a defenseman. So, you got to play them all. And if you're a smart coach, you can manage that ice time effectively. But they all have to have a chance to play in critical situations, in man up, man down, late in the game, games on the line. How are they ever going to learn? And so it's a delicate balance for sure. And so what we do here is the playoffs start in February. And so, everybody gets a shot at everything until playoffs. And my goal is that in playoffs, I can just run 3 lines, pretty equally through that. And we got this last year where we got shorted. Our last 2 games were against teams we'd beaten twice during the season, and one of them, they only played 6 forwards, maybe 5, and 3 defensemen. We just played all our players, and they beat us by a goal in the end. And and then that team went on and got killed in the next round. So I've seen that happen a couple times too. So
yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the championships we've been fortunate to win or be a part of, everybody always played.
yeah,
And at the end of the day, when you're in that room, and you won, obviously there's that feeling. But when you're in that room and you've lost, but everyone has had an opportunity,
yep.
the way those players come together after that game is just incredible.
And that happened to us this last year, and with a group of kids prior year in the district had only won 1 out of 42 games. And here we are trying to win we play 14 games and then we have playoffs. And there they are, they're 1 game away from advancing out of the districts into regionals. These kids had never won before. We played them all. We went to the locker room and they were all in tears.
Guys, I'd like to relate a story about what we're reinforcing here. The Olympics in 2002, I was on that coaching staff, and I would not take the job in the interview unless everybody played all situations in the first half year.
Mhm.
And I mentioned the creation of a power play units and PK units of 10 and 10 was ideal in the post second half of the season. And they agreed to it. And I believe it contributed to winning a gold medal. When I coached 2 years before that, a club team at the University of Calgary that had potential Olympians on it. I had 2 Olympians that played in that gold medal game on the team that won the national championship. Basically rolling the lines with only 2 national players on it against a team that had 9. So you've all experienced the greater success that you've had. Doesn't necessarily mean you win. But when you shorten the bench at U10 in the last minute and put out the best player and take off the second line player, the emotional effect of that on the rest of the team and that player, it can't go ignored.
You're right.
That's win-win coaching. And I'm not sure, Sean, if you're familiar with the Positive Coaching Alliance, but I've used them in that particular concept of win-win coaching and everybody feeling a part of it. And you might lose. And I saw a situation happen it was U11 hockey. After the Olympics, I watched my nephew's son playing in a U11 game, a team that had 1 ringer, but they rolled the lines all the way. They were down a goal with a minute left, and they put out the ringer and took off my nephew's son. And I said to him, that's lose-lose coaching. They'll likely lose the game and lose the spirit of the player that got pulled off or everyone else. Win-win coaching would have been to left him out there and give him an opportunity to build his confidence. Is winning that game at that moment more important. You have to make that call. So I think that's where we really have to stand by our principles and what we believe in, and the players have to know what we believe in and respect that, as do their parents. And it's called integrity. I mean, do things the right way, win or lose, and you can always look in the mirror.